That's my mask. Make sure you can get it. Show everybody. It's very important we stop Asian hate. Okay, first, on a sad, very sad note, the shooting in my home state, West Hempstead, New York, a community I know well. I'm closely monitoring the situation, praying for the victims and our first responders. And make no mistake about it, the Senate will move forward with legislation to stop the epidemic of gun violence. Okay. Now, I want to just say as well that I am so pleased to be joined by Senators Hirono, Duckworth, Blumenthal, and Warnock on the issue of the anti-Asian hate crimes bill. Because of the good work of these senators, working with our Republican colleagues, we've made important progress to passing this significant piece of hate crimes legislation. We're on track to pass the final bill this week. Last week, as you know, the Senate voted to proceed with the legislation by an overwhelmingly bipartisan vote of 92-6, and I'm optimistic we can finish our work in the same manner that it started, with an overwhelmingly bipartisan vote, and it's needed. The bill, as you know, gives federal law enforcement the tools to better detect, prevent, and prosecute this surge in hate crimes. This surge is just awful. I was at another rally yesterday, mainly with the Sikh and Korean American communities in New York, and the fear, the palpable fear that individuals feel simply as they walk down the street or get on a bus or get in the subways is so real. And our society must condemn it, and condemn it roundly. It's awful. And again, I say that a lot of the demons of bigotry were sort of, which we always try to push underground as Americans, were pushed upward by Donald Trump. And we have a long way to go to get them back down below. I want to just give a lot of praise to our two Asian American women senators, Mazie Hirono and Tammy Duckworth, who led the charge. And we really, and I am trying to have the Senate be far more bipartisan than it was. And so our substitute amendment will have a proposal by Senator Collins, a proposal by Senator Moran that Senator Blumenthal worked with him on, language that Senator Rick Scott of Florida put in the bill, and some language that Grassley has put in the bill, working with Senator Warnock. So it's a very bipartisan bill, and our Republican friends improved the bill. I don't say that with any doubt, and we welcome this kind of approach. When the Senate's given the opportunity to work, it can work, and members from both sides of the aisle have worked together responding to this pressing issue, and I don't think this will be, I hope this is not a one-time occurrence. The water bill was reported out of the EPW committee unanimously. We hope to take that up. And we're going to have that opportunity again with the Endless Frontiers Act. Senator Young and I have made very good progress. We've gotten a good number of Democratic and Republican co-sponsors. We're finishing the final touches on the bill, and we'll introduce it very soon. In addition, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, led by Chairman Menendez, will hold a markup on their piece, and that's expected to be bipartisan. And the Commerce Committee held a hearing last week. So I'm really pleased we're continuing to move the ball forward on the Endless Frontier Act in a bipartisan way, and I look forward to putting that on the floor very soon. Let me call on Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Leader Schumer, and all my colleagues who are here, of course, including the Republican members of the Senate who have worked to expand the support for this bill while retaining the purpose of this bill, which the leader has mentioned is actually very reasonable, mainly that we'd like to see more reporting of these kinds of unprovoked hate crimes against AAPIs and incidents of that nature. So that is the substance of the bill, but I can tell you that the AAPI community is under siege. They feel very vulnerable, and to a great extent, in the history of our country, they have felt very invisible. That is why this bill is so important, modest as it is a modest start to recognize that these kinds of hate crimes cannot continue and cannot be tolerated in our country, that this bill is very important to them because it truly is a bill that represents to the AAPI community the Senate and soon followed by the House, because there's a companion bill introduced by Grace Meng in the House, that this is the first time that we will stand up as a body to say that we condemn these kinds of crimes and we are going to recognize it for what it is, hate crimes, and we are going to do something about it. This is very bipartisan, and I worked very closely with Susan Collins to address her concerns, and as noted, there's input from Rick Scott, and of course my colleagues here have very much improved the bill and strengthened the bill, but it is time for all of us to stand up against these kinds of unprovoked attacks. I do not know a single Asian in this AAPI person in this country who feels safe just walking around without being very aware of the surroundings and who might come up to them and yell some kind of a hateful words to them. In fact, one of my employees just said that he was at a Thai restaurant and and he was just walking by. He saw that. He tapped on the window and did this to break the sort of the rising cycle of anger that was emanating from this customer, and then she proceeded to go outside and start to yell at him. So this is the kind of unprovoked incidents that occur every single day, multiple times. We need to get the data on this kind of occurrence, and we certainly need to do more than what's called for in this bill, but it is certainly a start and a meaningful start for the AAPI community.
Thank you,
Thank
Senator
you.
Hirono. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. I too want to thank my colleagues for taking the lead on this. We have the ability and the responsibility to fight back against this rise in hate crimes against AAPIs. In fact, hate crimes against AAPIs in this country, even though they are underreported, rose by 150% in this past year alone in our major cities. And in fact, there were about 3,800 reports of anti-Asian hate crimes that were reported in just the last 12 months. 2/3 of those were against Asian women, and in particular, elderly Asian women. We have to send this message that standing up for what is right is not a partisan matter. It is, in fact, an American obligation. My own mother, who's going to be 80 here in just a week or so, was literally at the grocery store trying to buy some produce and was being hassled and harassed by an employee. And she finally said, "Look, leave me alone. I'm just trying to buy grapes for my granddaughter's lunch. Leave me alone. I'm just trying," And this is a woman who is married to an American veteran and has 2 children who are American veterans, one of whom is a U.S. senator. And it doesn't matter. Hate doesn't matter. Hate is relentless, and it doesn't stop. And it casts a wide target. And so the entire AAPI community is hurting, is under siege, and this is the least that we can do as a body, to come together in a bipartisan way and push forward. And I just want to thank our colleagues, especially in the Hispanic and Black caucuses, who have worked so closely with the AAPI members on so many of these issues. And the Tri-Caucus working together has really been a blessing to us as we're trying to fight back against anti-Asian hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Senator Blumenthal.
I want to join with my colleagues in thanking the courage and strength of Senator Duckworth and Senator Hirono and Senator Warnock. Thank you for your leadership. This anti-AAPI hate is a virus that must be stopped. It is spreading, and we have an obligation to act against it. But it is one variant of hate crimes that have risen astronomically across the United States, directed at African Americans, against Muslims, against Jews. And these hate crimes are notoriously unreported. Just to give you a piece of evidence, the FBI reported that in 2019 there were 7,300 hate crimes, but the Department of Justice's Bureau of Justice Statistics estimated that there were an average of 198,000. So the vast majority of hate crimes in this country are unreported. And this bill recognizes that knowledge is power. It is the power to investigate and prosecute. It's the power to deter. And encouraging reporting of hate crimes, as this bill does. The No Hate Act, which I introduced last session, is named after Khalid Jair and Heather Heyer. And those two individuals were killed in hate crimes 5 and 4 years ago. So this problem has been around for a while. What's different now is we've reached a tipping point. And that tipping point is public awareness that the United States cannot tolerate these kinds of hate crimes anymore. So I want to thank my Republican colleague, Jerry Moran, for joining the bill this year. His support is critical to the No Hate Act. And I want to thank Senator Schumer, particularly, for making sure that the No Hate Act is part of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Last but certainly not least, Senator Warnock.
Number 100, though.
Not for long.
Thank you so very much, Leader Schumer. Make no mistake, today we stand with the Asian community, not only today but in the days ahead. And we stand against these injuries and insults and assaults, which little by little, day by day, step by step, represent not only a kind of violence against this particular community, but eats away at the fabric of the covenant that we have with one another as an American people. Martin Niemöller, the pastor during Germany's Third Reich, said first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak because I was not a Jew, and then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak for me. And so I want to thank all of our colleagues, but especially I want to thank Senator Hirono and Senator Duckworth for teaching all of us how to transform our pain into power, how to translate our highest values into public policy. Thank you, Leader Schumer, for all of your leadership and inspiration. I'm proud to co-sponsor this critical bill so that Congress and the Justice Department can start collecting much-needed data that will help put an end to the threats of hate and violence against our Asian American loved ones and neighbors. And I'm especially proud that my colleagues worked with me to include a critical provision in this legislation that names and acknowledges the pain and experiences of Georgia's AAPI community specifically, and make sure we never forget the names attached to lives and families that we lost in the horrific shootings in Atlanta last month. This bill has been worked on by Democrats and Republicans. It is necessary, it is urgent, it is bipartisan. After what we saw happen a few weeks ago in Georgia, and we're seeing too often, violence against AAPI individuals that we keep seeing over and over again, it is absolutely critical for us to act. And so I'm glad about the work of the people that's gotten us closer to getting this bill over the finish line. Here's what's at stake. Dr. King said we're tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. He said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. In that spirit, I hope that all of our Senate colleagues will join us in recognizing the importance of this legislation by affirming our commitment to standing up against hate and helping us pass this bill on the floor. Thanks.
Thank you. Well said. Questions? Yes.
Schumer, I was wondering what your thoughts were on Congresswoman Waters' comments in Minnesota about being more confrontational. The verdict doesn't go that way in the Chauvin trial. Were those appropriate comments?
Senator, Congresswoman Waters said she wants peace. Every senator wants peace. Yes.
Senator, on that note on the trial, just what are your thoughts on the trial, on the trial where it stands? President Biden said today he was praying for the right verdict, and that the evidence is overwhelming. Your thoughts on that? And just
My
what
thoughts
the
are
status
that
of
I hope that
policing going on?
justice is brought to the Floyd family.
And policing
Yes, next.
I wonder if you can give us a status update on guns. Are you closer to a 60-bill solution? What would that look like?
Yes.
Secondly, we're coming up on 100 days of the Biden White House. I wonder if you can reflect a little on the lessons you learned from the Obama years and how you've applied those in the way you
Okay, with two separate questions. On the first one, Senator Blumenthal, who is here, and his colleague from Connecticut, Senator Murphy, are working very hard to come up with a proposal that can pass the Senate. And we're going to vote on guns. There's no question about it. We're going to vote on gun safety. The times demand it. And on the second one, look, I've said this before. In 2009 and 10, we did not put together a robust recovery bill, and we stayed in recession for too many years. And then we spent a year and a half negotiating on something good, the ACA, but didn't get anything else done, even though that was a good thing to do. We cannot make either of those mistakes again. DeMonis.
In light of your comments this morning about marijuana and wanting to pursue some marijuana legislation, are you committing to bring marijuana legislation to the floor? And do you think there's an opportunity, given the budget impact, that legalization might have to do some reconciliation options on that?
Well, I do want to bring marijuana legislation, legalization, decriminalization legislation to the floor, and we will. You will hear in a few weeks the legislation. It'll answer part of your second question that Senators Booker and Wyden and I will put forward. Manu.
Given how volatile the situation is in Minnesota right now, why is it okay for any member of Congress to say protesters should get more confrontational?
Everyone, all senators and Congressman Waters has said she wants peace. That's what we want. Yes.
She said more confrontational.
Yes.
The White House endorsed the D.C. statement bill today. Is that something that you're going to bring before the Senate? Or is that
Look, I believe strongly in D.C. statehood, and we will try to work a path to get it done. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Policing